Good morning. This is a special edition of Political Paula, and of course, we are discussing the Kavanaugh hearings that occurred yesterday. Now, many of you have accused me, and sometimes rightly so, of being very far to the left, probably farther than is actually true. Yes, I am liberal when it comes to social issues, women's reproductive rights, gay marriage, gay rights, racial equality. But I am also very conservative when it comes to fiscal things, taxes, Republicans' views on personal responsibility, cutting back on welfare and food stamps. So I consider myself pretty moderate. And when I watched these hearings yesterday, I made sure that I came in with an open mind. And I watched every minute, every hour for 9 hours. I heard it all. And I think some of you will be very surprised at my takeaways. Because here's what I have concluded after watching both testimonies. I believe them both. That sounds really odd, right? And yet a lot of people, as I'm hearing the morning after the Monday morning quarterbacking, agree with me. I believe that both Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh believed what they were saying yesterday under oath was the truth as they believe it. Now, of course, they can't both be right. But I don't believe either one of them, well, was purposely deceptive. Now, there were no Perry Mason moments. There really is no proof of what happened because, again, and I will agree with the Democrats on this one, there really has not been a full investigation, although one might be coming. And it actually might be coming here in Maryland, where I sit right now, because there is no statute of limitations on sexual assault in Maryland. And there are some that are suggesting that this be investigated here in Maryland, where this crime of sexual assault against Judge Kavanaugh occurred or is alleged to occur. And so even if Judge Kavanaugh gets through this and is on the Supreme Court, it doesn't necessarily mean this is over. But I want to go back to these hearings because it was so interesting watching both sides. And I'm going to start with Dr. Ford. And I don't usually read from notes, but I did take a few notes. And I want to be pretty concise about this because the aha moments for me, the Perry Mason moments, if you will, didn't come when either one of them was discussing the actual sexual assault. It came in different areas, and I came to a surprising conclusion first about Dr. Ford. First, I found her very credible. I found her in a horrible position that she didn't want to be in. I believe she was sexually assaulted when she was 15 years old. And I believe that she believes it was Brett Kavanaugh that sexually assaulted her. That wasn't the aha moment. That's why I watched very carefully and took notes. Believe it or not, the aha moment came when one senator asked what I found was an irrelevant and ridiculous question about Dr. Ford's fear of flying. And it was like, well, what does that matter? Well, it ended up mattering to me as an impartial viewer, trying to be impartial, when she said, no, I don't like to fly. I fly to Delaware once or twice a year to see my family. I don't like flying. I prefer not to fly. I will fly for vacation. She's much like me. I hate flying. It terrifies me. But if I really want to go somewhere, I'll fly. I don't want to be ordered to fly somewhere if I don't need to. And all of a sudden, if you looked at the lawyers, one on each side of Dr. Ford, they were starting to get very uncomfortable with this question. Because one of the senators said, Dr. Ford, do you understand that we were willing to come to California to see you, to take your testimony privately and play it here, record it, and play it for the Senate. And Dr. Ford looked very confused. Her lawyers started losing their minds. No, 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 wait, that's attorney-client privilege. Really? How is this attorney-client privilege? Dr. Ford said to the senator, I would have happily welcomed you to California. It was very obvious then to me that while I don't believe Dr. Ford had a political agenda by bringing this accusation forward, I believe her lawyers may have. Me, a Democrat. Megyn Kelly during the breaks is saying that most Democrats believe Dr. Ford and Democratic women. And I'm a Democratic woman. I'm a registered Democrat. I don't apologize for that. I am a woman. But that gave me pause because now I'm starting to think, I don't think Dr. Ford had an agenda. I think her lawyers did. And I'd like to know more about these lawyers. Because these lawyers did not get uncomfortable or object to anything when she was questioned about the assault. But boy, they got real nervous when she was told, probably hearing this for the first time, that she would not have had to go through this yesterday. They were going to come see her in her own hometown. She was shocked, and her lawyers didn't want it continued. They wanted to stop the questioning immediately on this topic. Of all the things they were asking Dr. Ford, this really concerned her lawyers. The other question that was asked is who paid for her legal fees, who paid for her new location, because she said she's been forced out of her home. And again, that had nothing to do with the assault. Who's paying her legal expenses? Who's paying her relocation expenses? Who paid for the polygraph? Right away, the lawyers are going nuts. We object. This is lawyer-client attorney privilege. And Dr. Ford became very uncomfortable. Now look, this tells me that there is an agenda. Not on Dr. Ford's part. She just said, look, I believe that Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted me when I was 15. And I felt that I needed to bring that to your attention as you consider him for a lifetime appointment to the United States Supreme Court. Okay? But the lawyers, they wanted her in Washington live on national television. And there's a reason for that. And I really actually would like to know who is paying her expenses. Who paid for her to fly to Washington? Who paid for her hotel to stay in Washington? Who is paying for her security that she and her family now need because some idiots are sending her death threats, which of course is not the way we're supposed to do things in this country. You don't send death threats to a victim, and you don't send death threats to the accused either. That's not cool, people. But when we see the circus that these hearings became yesterday, this is where we're supposed to find the truth, and all we saw was grandstanding by the senators and two people, Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh, whose lives have been irreparably destroyed, and their families' lives. And it is a shame. Brett Kavanaugh, let's go to his testimony. At first, he impressed me. He was angry. He should be angry if he is truly innocent, and I believe, again, he believes he is innocent. He does not believe that he assaulted this woman. I believe that. But when the crying started and the sniffing started, like he had a bad batch of cocaine up his nose, and the blowing his nose on national television started, well, that turned me off. It did. It turned me way off. But I still believe that he believes he was not at that party, and he absolutely believes that he did not assault Dr. Ford. Okay? Here was his aha moment, though. And again, it's these little tiny, almost you missed it because you didn't think the questions were relevant details. He was perfect on the assault. I did not assault this woman. I have never assaulted a woman in my life. I would not do this. Here's where he started to get very uncomfortable, and you could see it in his body language. Now remember, he's applying to be a Supreme Court justice for the rest of his life. He's 53 years old. That could be 40 more years. Look at notorious Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's going to be 90 years old. She's still on the court. It's an important job, and you have to have the proper temperament. And I saw moments of Judge Kavanaugh getting ready to have an aneurysm. And it isn't the questions that you would expect. On the sexual assault, he was even. He was perfect. His affect was exactly as you would expect. I did not do this. I am an innocent man wrongfully accused. Dr. Ford is mistaken. I wish her no harm. Something happened to her, but it wasn't me. But where he got really testy, and there were a few. First of all, the 3 letters, FBI. He started getting very, you could tell by his body language, he was stiff. I'm sure that there were marks in the palms of his hands from, I can't explode, I want to explode right now. FBI caused a reaction. Mark Judge. Would you want Mark Judge to sit in that seat that you are in right now, Judge Kavanaugh, and testify? No. I mean, he adamant. No. The guy's and then the guy's his good friend, right? He's a drug addict. He's been very sick. He should not be forced to come here and testify. And the other thing that really got his goat was when he was questioned about his history of drinking. And this is interesting if you know people who drink. And I do. And I drink. And I used to get very, very drunk in bars. And I have had time lapses. I have had times where I was at a bar. Thank God my friends were there and took care of me. And I don't remember going home. I remember one time I woke up and there was a bowl of cereal with milk poured in it sitting on the kitchen counter. My friends brought me home from the bar. I was hungry, poured a thing of cereal, put milk on it, and then forgot about it and went to bed. No memory of any of that. It happens. When Judge Kavanaugh was questioned about his drinking, he got very tensed up, very defensive. I like beer. By the way, the drinking age was 18 in Maryland. I wasn't brave. He's not accused of underage drinking, but he had to keep bringing that up, and he kept pushing it. I was of legal drinking age. I liked beer. I still like beer. Do you like beer, Senator? Senator, how much do you drink? And it was a woman senator where he got real testy with her. Have you ever blacked out while drinking? Have you, Senator? Now, this woman was the wrong woman to ask that question to. She said, actually, no, I haven't because my father is an alcoholic, recovered alcoholic. I don't drink. He came back after the break and apologized to her, but it was too late because it's out there. Now, if you know someone whose drinking concerns you, you know that if you question them on their drinking, well, do you think maybe you should cut back a little? Do you think you're drinking a little too much? You know, you were really drunk last night. They get very defensive if they in their own heads believe they might drink too much. Now, if you ask someone who doesn't have any problems with drinking, who just drinks and is like myself, do you think you drink too much wine? No, I don't. I enjoy wine. I like the taste. I don't get falling down drunk. And really, I have no problem. I don't apologize for my drinking. End of subject. Yeah, I drank when I was 18. That's all he had to say. We had some beers. I used to have some beers with my friends. Yes, I drank during the week after practice to take the edge off or to relax with my friends or at a ball game. That's all he had to say. But he got very defensive. It was legal. Drinking age was 18. I have never blacked out. Do you get aggressive, Judge Kavanaugh, when you're drunk? And he got very tense again. His body language got very tense. And you knew that he wanted to explode. Do you get aggressive when you drink? He was getting aggressive right then and there. He doesn't like to be questioned about his drinking. And that, to me, was an aha moment. Because, like I said, when he was asked about the assault, he was very clear. I have never assaulted any woman. We knew he was going to say that. The other thing that was the aha moment, we know Dr. Ford took a polygraph test and passed. Judge Kavanaugh was asked if he would take a polygraph. And immediately he starts looking around. Like, somebody help me out with this. Well, finally he answered and said, no, I won't take a polygraph because they're inadmissible in court and they're unreliable. So what is he afraid of when he says they're unreliable? To me, that says if he takes a polygraph, some question he answers on that polygraph is going to say he's not being truthful. And because I believe Judge Kavanaugh believes he was not at that party and he did not assault Dr. Ford, I believe that when a polygrapher asks him, did you ever drink to excess where you have blacked out? Or have you ever become aggressive while drinking? I believe those are the questions that concerns him more. Here's the problem for Judge Kavanaugh, and this is why sometimes you have to admit bad behavior in your past without necessarily admitting what you're accused of. And this is what gets politicians in trouble all the time. They deny everything. Instead of saying, you know what, when I was a teenager, I got drunk. I acted stupid when I drank sometimes. But I know I never assaulted a woman. I know I never assaulted a 15-year-old girl, and I know I wasn't at that party. End of it. That's all he had to say. So at the end of the day, I believe that Judge Kavanaugh shot himself in the foot by refusing to admit anything, including the fact that he drank a lot of beer when he was a teenager and when he was in college. Which, by the way, would not surprise me or anybody else. He was a rich, handsome, athletic, popular boy in high school and in college. Why wouldn't he be at the great parties with all the free beer? Why not? That's not necessarily a crime, and it's certainly not what he was accused of, but he couldn't even admit that. And therein lies, to me, his downfall. I believe he will probably be confirmed. I believe it's a mistake. I don't believe his entire life should be destroyed if he truly is innocent and Dr. Ford was assaulted but is mistaken on who assaulted her. I don't know. And none of us knows. And the people whose very difficult job it is to vote yes or no for Judge Kavanaugh to be a Supreme Court justice don't know either, because these hearings yesterday didn't tell us anything. Except there is an agenda by some Democrats to get rid of Judge Kavanaugh. And that there is something that Judge Kavanaugh does not want to talk about or to be known about his past. Again, I don't know. And it's going to be up to, unfortunately, a very divided Congress, a Congress that right now hates each other. Again, parties, which we're going to discuss in November, Republicans against Democrats, horrible yelling matches, things that shouldn't have been said. Lindsey Graham lost his mind, which disappointed me terribly. And at the end of the day, we still don't know. And we will never know. It was very brave of Dr. Ford to come forward and put herself through what she has been through. It was also brave of Judge Kavanaugh to not withdraw, to protect his family from what has become really, I mean, you can't run for anything in this country without the people in the opposing party going back decades to try to find one little thing to smear your name, your good name. It doesn't matter if you were a jackass in high school and in college, but have become a pillar of society all these years later. It doesn't matter. That one little thing, whether he assaulted her or he didn't assault her, the fact that he even got drunk in high school could ruin his life for the rest of his life. That's ridiculous. And then Dr. Ford. I think she was used by some in the Democratic Party. I think she was a pawn. I think she should have turned to her lawyers during the hearing and said, "You're both fired," because I didn't have to be here today. You never told me they were going to come to me. If I was told I needed to testify and Congress offered to come to this trailer, I would welcome them with open arms. Hey, come, we can sit and look at the beautiful river and you can take my testimony. I don't want to come to Washington. So again, I think this hearing was a shame on our country, a pox on all of our houses. And it is a shame if Dr. Ford is possibly mistaken that Judge Kavanaugh's family has been pulled into this and his life has been ruined. But I found things to be suspect on both sides. So I guess right now I'm Switzerland because I don't know. I have my own reasons for not wanting Judge Kavanaugh to be on the Supreme Court. But, and I'm going to talk about that in another show because we're going long. I like to keep the shows at 20 minutes, but my reasons for not wanting Judge Kavanaugh are not going to be helped by Judge Kavanaugh being rejected and another nominee coming out made by President Trump, by a Republican, based on what the right wing wants President Trump to do with the nomination. The next nominee is going to have the same views on women's reproductive rights as Judge Kavanaugh, on gay marriage as Judge Kavanaugh. Because no Republican, because of party, will allow a moderate Republican judge to sit on the bench because they want all or nothing. Their goal is to, during this term, repeal Roe v. Wade, the law that makes abortion legal and safe for millions of women all over this country, that has saved women's lives, that has saved women's sanity, that has saved children from being born with horrible disabilities, dying right after birth, suffering, drowning in their mother's uterus because the mother has been told abortion is evil. It's against our religion. So we're going to talk about that in our third season that starts November 1st. But the elephant in the room is abortion. This is why the Democrats fear Judge Kavanaugh or any justice nominee that a Republican president puts up. And I find that so sad for our country. Abortion is legal, my friends. It's been legal for 40 years. The fact that some still can't accept it and mind their own damn business about what goes on in my house, in my body, in my doctor's office, that's a pox on all our houses. And it is a shame that two people, Dr. Ford Judge Kavanaugh and their families have been used and abused and put through this hell because some people simply cannot accept that every woman in this country has a right to decide for herself what happens in her own body. Political Paula, out.